Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at the very early days of movies, right? Like 1915.
Hmm.
And back then, the moving picture, it was just this huge, messy commercial thing. Nobody really knew what it was, artistically speaking.
Exactly. I mean, millions were watching, but the sort of high art crowd, they mostly dismissed it. Pure entertainment, nothing more.
Right, just flickering images. So the sources show that maybe the first serious attempt to build like a real aesthetic theory came from a poet of all people.
That's right. A poet and art lover named Nicholas Vachel Lindsay. His book, The Art of the Moving Picture, landed in 1915.
And it wasn't ignored, was it? It seems like it made a splash almost immediately.
Oh, absolutely. Francis Hackett, writing for the New Republic, called it a bold and brilliant theory, which
Yeah.
is, pretty high praise.
And Columbia University even used it as a textbook. That's serious academic weight right there.
It is. And the filmmakers themselves noticed, the big one, D.W. Griffith.
Mm.
He actually invited Lindsay personally to the premiere of Intolerance. And maybe even more telling, the big theater visionary, Gordon Craig, apparently suggested they start a film studio together. So Lindsay's ideas, even if they were a bit, cranky or over the top
I
sometimes,
don't know, I like it, yeah.
they definitely struck a chord. People felt he was on to something important about this new medium's potential.
So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to unpack Lindsay's vision, look at his three main categories for film. He called them his foundation colors.
Right.
And then get into some of his really radical ideas about how movies should work, technically and even socially.
Yeah, and it's key to remember, he came at this not like a theater critic, but as someone steeped in the visual arts. He'd spent years studying sculpture and painting.
At the Met, wasn't it?
That's right, the Metropolitan Museum. So he saw film through that lens, sculpture, painting, architecture,
Mm.
but in motion. Those were his big three parallels.
Okay, let's start with the first one, then. The most basic, he thought. The picture of action.
Or sculpture in motion.
Sculpture in motion. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's about speed, abstraction, movement. He tied it to what he called America's speed mania. The fundamental core is the chase. The classic cop chasing a tramp.
Okay, simple pursuit.
Exactly. Pure kinetic energy. It's abstract in a way, just bodies moving through space.
Mm.
Like sculpture, which is about form in space.
But he wasn't just talking about any random running around, was he? He had standards.
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
He hated what he called frenetic twitching. Bad action. For him, the ideal action film was like a hurdle race where every single frame...
Every frame.
Yeah, every frame should be composed beautifully, like a tableau with art gallery beauty. It needed grace and form, even in speed.
It's like living statues moving elegantly.
Sorta, yeah. That's why sculpture was the comparison. He pointed to Douglas Fairbanks in The Three Musketeers as, like, the perfect example of a chase picture. Non-stop, elegant action.
And he mentioned Griffith again. Something prehistoric.
Right, man's genesis.
Mm.
He saw that as a more abstract kind of chase. It wasn't just physical running. It was the race between intelligence, weak hands, and pure physical power, brute force.
So the idea of the chase conveyed through movement.
Exactly. Brain versus brawn, shown kinetically. Very clever.
Okay, so that's action or sculpture in motion. Fast, abstract, well-composed. What's the second color?
The second is the intimate photoplay. And this one he linked to painting in motion.
Painting. So slower, more about mood.
Precisely. This is all about subtlety, tiny details of character, elusive personal gestures, quiet moods, things half relaxed or gently restrained.
You called it gossip and extremist, didn't he? I like that.
Yeah, it captures that sense of peering into private lives, getting really close emotionally.
And visually, how did that work? If action is the chase, what defines intimacy?
It's the setting. Small spaces, cozy interiors. He literally talks about scenes no bigger than an office boy's stool. The camera brings you right in, makes you feel like you're in the room, a privileged character.
Like looking closely at a detailed painting, maybe. Focusing on light and expression.
That's the idea. Less about big movements, more about capturing delicate emotions and atmosphere. It's where he felt the great actresses of the silent era really excelled.
Like Lillian Gish, Mary Pickford.
Exactly. He mentions them, and specifically a film called A Romance of the Redwoods with Pickford. He said this style was perfect for gentle moments, like Annie with the milk pails in Enoch Arden. Not for,
Great bloody plots.
right, not for sprawling epics. The focus is narrow, deep, intimate. The art is in that closeness.
Okay, sculpture, painting. That leaves architecture, the third category.
Yes, and this was the big one for him, the one with the most, maybe, untapped potential. The photoplay of splendor, or architecture in motion.
Architecture, so we're talking scale.
Yeah.
Grandeur. Permanence.
All of that. This is where film could capture vastness.
Mm.
Huge landscapes, the total gesture of crowds, history itself unfolding. Here, entire peoples or nations become the dramatic elements.
Wow. Okay, that's a big conceptual leap. Did he break that down further? It sounds massive.
He did. He saw three main subdivisions within Splendor. The first is pretty straightforward, crowd splendor.
Just masses of people.
Essentially, yeah, the power and movement of large groups. He mentions things like the immigrant stories in The Italian, or that famous Ku Klux Klan ride in The Birth of a Nation. The crowd itself is the spectacle.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second type of splendor?
This one's more unusual, fairy splendor. This taps into the camera's Halloween witch power, as you put it.
Witch power, so like special effects, trick films.
Sort of, but more profound than just tricks. It's the camera's ability to make inanimate objects seem alive, to give furniture, settings, objects their own vitality.
Examples.
Well, he mentions really early stuff like a 1905 film Moving Day where furniture walks out on its own. Simple animation.
Right.
But the ultimate example for him, the masterpiece of this idea, was the German film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Ah, the expressionist classic with those crazy tilted sets.
Exactly. He saw Caligari as a marvelous illustration. The weird, moving, distorted sets and furniture directly expressed the main character's haunted, twisted mental state. The architecture itself was performing.
That's fascinating. So the environment becomes an active psychological force?
Precisely. And he contrasts that kind of intense, internal, almost claustrophobic splendor with the third type.
Which is?
Religious splendor. This is about capturing the awe of ritual, the grandeur of cathedrals, processions, religious ceremony. He mentions a film about the death of Thomas Becket.
So conveying spiritual weight through visual scale and ceremony.
Yes. And he actually felt this type of film needed to be almost completely separate from the commercial mainstream to achieve its full potential, its splendid religious and ritualistic opportunity.
Okay, so a really structured vision.
Yeah.
Action as sculpture, intimacy as painting, splendor as architecture with its own subtypes. Now, having laid all that out, how did he think these films should actually be presented? What were his technical rules?
Well, this gets us into some of his really core and maybe most controversial ideas. Fundamentally, he saw the photoplay as pure picture writing.
Picture writing, you mean like hieroglyphics?
Literally.
Yeah.
He was fascinated by Egyptian art. He actually claimed that after watching tons of movies, he could suddenly understand Egyptian hieroglyphs, like the symbols for throne or hand, because they used the same kind of visual logic, the same composition as films.
Wow. Okay, so film is a visual language.
Universal visual language. And because of that, his ideal film, the purest form, should have no words printed on it at all, just one unbroken sheet of photography.
No title cards, no inner titles explaining the plot or dialogue.
Ideally none, or as few as humanly possible. He believed the images alone should carry the entire narrative.
Did he think audiences could actually follow that?
He did, and he pointed to a film called The Old Swimmin' Hole with Charles Ray. Apparently it was a big hit, and it had almost no text after the opening credits. The story worked purely through the visuals.
Okay, so maximum visual storytelling, minimum text. That makes sense in theory. But then he took it even further, didn't he? With music.
Ah, yes. This is probably his most, well, commercially unviable suggestion from today's perspective. He argued for suppressing the orchestra entirely.
Right, get rid of the music in the silent era. But the music was crucial. It set the mood, covered projector noise.
I know. It sounds completely nuts from a practical standpoint. And nobody really followed him on this one.
So why did he suggest it? What was the reasoning?
Pure aesthetics. He felt the live music in theaters was often just terrible. Squalid and horrible, he called it. He complained about hearing, like, hoochie-coochie music during death scenes or sacred music for trivial moments.
So the wrong music could completely ruin the intended effect of the picture writing.
Exactly. He felt it polluted the pure visual experience. And if the film itself was weak visually, then the music was just, in his words, bullying it through, forcing an emotion the pictures couldn't earn.
Okay, I can see the purest logic, even if it's impractical. Unless the music was perfect, it was just noise and intrusion.
Right. Better to have silence, let the hieroglyphics speak for themselves. But there's a pretty funny story about him trying this out.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
He was at a movie with the writer Christopher Morley, and they decided to test the no music is better theory by, well, talking through the film, analyzing it critically instead of just listening to the score.
Uh-oh. How did that go down?
About as well as you'd expect. Two young women nearby, totally engrossed in the actors kissing on screen, apparently turned around and called Lindsay and Morley two talking pests.
Huh. So much for high theory versus audience enjoyment.
Exactly. A perfect clash. He apparently modified his advice later to just suggest whispering, and maybe only if you were in the front row. It shows the limits of pure theory when faced with how people actually experience art.
Definitely. But his thinking wasn't just confined to the art form itself. He also looked at its social impact, right?
Yes, and this is a really powerful part of his argument. He saw the movie house, the Nickelodeon, as performing a crucial social function, acting as the substitute for the saloon.
The substitute for the bar. How so?
Well, think about it. For just a dime, working-class people, who he sometimes called the caveman, reader of picture writing, were getting light, warmth, novelty, a place to gather and talk. And crucially,
It isn't a bar.
wasn't a bar. It was drawing people away from drinking. He had this great line about them getting fire pouring into their eyes instead of into their bellies.
That's evocative. So it was providing entertainment, community, and a kind of mental stimulation, replacing the, what did he call the saloon decoration?
Oh, the squalid decorations,
right.
like the leg picture, the prize fighter photo, the goats, just miserable stuff. The movies replaced those old, tired images with vast new visions.
Yeah, he talks about seeing Westminster Abbey one night, a parade in India the next. For a dime, it opened up the world.
It really did. A window onto everything, a new shared experience for a diverse population, a powerful social force.
So when you pull it all together, Lindsay's contribution was, well, it was providing a critical framework, wasn't it? Using the language of visual arts, painting, sculpture, architecture to give standards to this brand new medium.
Absolutely. And he was adamant that the future of film criticism and curation belonged in art museums, places that understood visual form, not in libraries or classrooms focused on text.
And that vision for architecture in motion, the Splendor category, it went way beyond just making epic movies. He saw it as almost a tool for social engineering.
Oh, completely. It was hyperbolic, yes, but deeply felt. He literally proposed that architects should use film as propaganda to transform the entire country into a Architects America, a kind of permanent World's Fair. And he thought it could be done by 1930.
Wow, a movie-driven national utopia. That's
Yep.
ambitious.
He called the task as shining and splendid as war, but aimed at building and unifying, not destroying.
Yeah.
He truly believed the kinetoscope, the movie camera, could handle the biggest possible ideas. It could show America its own potential, its own noble face in the mirror screen.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If Lindsay, way back then, saw cinema as capable of these huge unifying visions, building utopias, reflecting a nation's soul through splendor, what are we asking of our films today?
Right. What grand visions, what architectural or, I don't know, patriotic splendors are we maybe failing to even imagine, let alone capture, on that same mirror screen now? It's a challenging thought.